Sandra Herrera joining us now ahead of USA versus Japan, a quarterfinal matchup that is one for the ages. Sandra, it's the 41st time US and Japan are playing each other.
Sheesh.
Tell us about the history between these two nations.
It's incredible. I think when you kind of get to what are the actual rivalries for United States women's national team, there's a lot of folks who tune into this one, whether you're the diehards or the casual. Anytime these two teams get together, it brings up memories of what is probably like an iconic trilogy between these two sides. They met between 2011 and 2015 in the finals of global championships, whether it was at 2011 World Cup, the following Olympics in 2012 in London, and then the 2015 World Cup. We got to see a lot of iconic names, a lot of iconic moments, really good stuff. And it kind of feels like perhaps this upcoming quarterfinal could possibly be the restart or the beginning of maybe a new one between these two sides.
All right, now, Sandra, when did this rivalry kick off? When did we first see this? 41 matches is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Find some new opponents.
Yeah, tell them, Aaron. You let them know. I'm circling that 2011 World Cup. But look, I think if you maybe ask some diehards, maybe you throw it as far back as Beijing in 2008, maybe even as far back in 2004 Athens, where these teams kind of went ahead in group stages, and maybe those were kind of the prequels to what I'm calling the trilogy, to kind of build up kind of the familiarity between the two sides. But it really is during what's kind of referred to as Japan's golden era, from 2011 all the way through to 2015, where these two teams found themselves really going head to head. You had a program in Japan who were navigating what was their current golden era, and you had a United States side that was kind of trying to kick off the shadow of the previous golden era that was led by the 99ers all the way through to the early 2000s. And I think that was fitting for two sides that were kind of trying to define themselves in different ways.
All right, Sandra, out of these 41 matchups, I want you to try to pick which one has been your favorite and give us a little background as to why.
Yeah, there's a ton of games to choose from. I thought maybe even going like kind of galaxy brain and going towards the Algarve Cup win that Japan had, but then that would have required like a whole history of like Algarve Cup, and I'm not really trying to do all that today. So I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to stick with that 2011 World Cup. And maybe that's a painful memory for United States fans to kind of go through, but I think it was absolutely iconic of what the game was for that moment. You had two powerhouses coming together. Like I mentioned, United States trying to cast off that shadow of the 99ers and kind of finally get their World Cup glory again with a new squad, a new roster. And you had Japan going through the emotions of the earthquake that happened, that affected the island. So there was a really, really kind of emotional time, I think, depending on which side of the ball you were rooting for. And then to have it kind of culminate in the type of game that we got to see unfold on the pitch. We're talking back and forth through extra time, 2 goals apiece. It ends up leading to a penalty kick shootout. I mean, this game literally had everything for anyone who's a fan of football, and absolutely was the cusp, was the pinpoint where you could say, okay, this is absolutely a rivalry, and perhaps we're going to see some more special moments, and we did.
In recent history, U.S. against Japan, U.S. is unbeaten in 13 matches, Sandra. We enter the 41st meeting between these two sides on Saturday in the quarterfinals. What do you expect in this match?
I'm excited. I think we're starting to see kind of a new turning point for this rivalry, perhaps, and maybe some similar threads once again between these two sides. We're looking at a United States women's national team that are trying to in the process of revamping their program. They've got just a few games under their belt with Emma Hayes, and we're all in agreement that this new era is officially kicked into high gear and in full effect. And for Japan, they sort of quietly have been retooling over the last cycle or so. They did not qualify for those 2016 Olympics. And that was really kind of the turning point for the federation to say, okay, we're going to have to revamp some things here. And so now we're getting to see all of the work over the course of the years for Japan kind of show itself on these global stages. They're coming off an incredible 2023 World Cup appearance, and now they're finding themselves in the knockout rounds of the Olympics. Players on this team, really, really young. You could find a ton of them from between the ages of 18 all the way to 27 with a couple of vets in between. So I think there's going to be some tense moments in this game. I think there might be some moments of having to feel each other out, see what the other is presenting. And they're no strangers to each other, playing each other in some recent international windows. And those have often been kind of narrow scorelines. So I feel like we're going to get a repeat of that in this quarterfinal. You add the layer of high drama of a knockout round. Might be a little uncomfortable at times for some fans to watch, but I'm hopeful that it'll be a narrow scoreline in the favor of the U.S.
Oof.
Now, Sandra, you led me perfectly to my question. This Japanese team, obviously massive disappointment going out in the quarterfinals of the last Olympics to Sweden. What have we learned about this team since then, and what have you learned about this team in the course of this tournament?
Oh, my goodness. Silent assassins, possibly. I mean, just absolutely clinical when they need to be. I think that has been kind of maybe a pleasant surprise for some people. I think when you compare eras of national teams and we look back at that golden era of Japan, we think about a team that was patient, tactical on the ball. And then I think that has followed them recently. They're still a very technical team with really good ability on and off the ball. But I think there's a level of physicality that this current era of Japanese football has brought to the pitch. They know they got to be tough and they can't be pushed around. And they're not a team that you could just go in and say, hey, I'm bigger than you, I'm fitter than you, give me that ball. That's not going to work with this Japan side at all. And I love it. I love that they're bringing it, that bit of energy into games as well. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on the middle third and see how things go between these two sides there.
Sandra, that leads me right into my question. I want to know tactically. Wow, today's been wild.
It's just
looking
so good.
Look at it. I want to know tactically how you think Japan is maybe going to approach the U.S. without Sam Coffey. I think she changes the game a lot for the U.S. in that solid six position and her qualities that she brings physically, how much ground she's able to cover, her ball distribution. Do you think that that's an area Japan's going to kind of key in on to maybe press, try to transition quickly out of going against the U.S. this Saturday?
Absolutely. And I don't think they're going to have a problem with kind of utilizing the 90 minutes in front of them, or possibly even more. I don't want to speak something into existence like that. But these are the knockouts, right? So we're going to keep the door open for anything. But I'm with you on that. I think that's going to be an opportunity that Japan takes a look at and their game plan. They've got a couple days to kind of make their adjustments that they see they need to. But the U.S. are going to have to make their adjustments in the middle third as well. And Sam Coffey's going to be a huge loss in that midfield for them. And so maybe that's just the main opportunity for Japan to maintain a little bit more of their patience. They're going to maybe play into triggers if they find that the U.S. is kind of allowing them to do so. So I'm not going to lie. I've got a little bit of nerves going into this one.
Oh, Sandra, don't say that. That makes me nervous now. If you've got nerves, I don't know.